the past 6 months since I've been gone, and, I guess a lot of time and thoughtful with this process and really talking to their family, they decided maybe the best thing was to kind of stay close to home. So,
so that's a big discussion to have is how far. I've had some meetings with a bunch of juniors and heard a lot of, well, I want to go far away. Well, that may not be what actually happens in the end. So, type of campus. That kind of goes along with location too in some ways. Do you want to be in a city? Do you want to be at a place, like NYU, where it's city blocks around you? Do you want to be at a place like Penn State, which is out in the middle of Pennsylvania, and there's not much around? Or do you want something in the middle? Campus personality. That kind of falls into the idea of, we talk about rah-rah schools. So again, places like Penn State, where there's a lot of school spirit. You get kind of a feeling of what the campus is like when you visit schools, to get a sense of the personality on the campus, and you'll feel it when you look at schools. Diversity, how important is that to you when you're looking at colleges? Athletics and activities. Are there certain activities that you need to have as a student when you go away to college? Do you play sports? Are you interested in sports once you get to college? Does that mean Division I? Does that mean Division II or Division III? So these are all considerations when looking at schools. Entrance requirements. So how difficult is it to get in? And that goes back to what we were saying before about having a balanced list of schools. You want to have some choices. So you want to have some balance. You want to have those likely schools, those target schools, those reach schools. Okay.
And also, can you, by the time you apply, will you have all the requirements that the school needs? Sometimes we have students who are at the last minute rushing to take an SAT 2, and yet we kind of maybe haven't really thought out about the process and really kind of preparing yourself to take these exams throughout the next few months.
So that's something you really have to look. When you're researching colleges, you need to look at the websites of the admissions offices and do they require SAT 2s? What do they need? There are some test optional schools out there. So those are things you want to think about when you're looking. Competitiveness. How difficult is it to get in, and how competitive is it going to be when you get there? Something to think about. Reputation of a program or department, especially if you're looking into something specific. Do some research, try to find out what see what people are saying about specific departments, if there's something in particular that you're looking for. Majors available, especially if you're unsure of what you want to do. Are there options?
And also thinking about when you're looking at university, sometimes students will not get into the program of choice. What is the likelihood that you'll be able to transfer into that school once you're in university? In some schools, they're not going to allow you to do that, so is it in your best interest to go there or attend university that has maybe enrolled you into, let's say, the business program? So those are things to think about. And of course, money.
Yes. And cost is always a major factor in deciding where you're applying to school.
Also, I just want to kind of reinforce that as we're looking through the slides, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask those questions that relate to the slides. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you as we go along. So when we're looking at college costs, how much can my family afford to send me, including tuition, books, travel, spending money? And so sometimes when we're looking at a student who maybe wants to go far away, I think some of the things they don't think about is maybe not being able to come home every holiday, Thanksgiving and Christmas or Hanukkah. Really thinking about where am I going to store all my stuff, right? Storage, how are we putting these things into perspective? Spending money, right? So you're not only going to want to spend your time in the college, but you're going to also want to leave maybe the campus and get to know people and spend your money there. So really looking at what it costs to go to a university. Comparing lower tuition at a public school with the possibility of a private school may have more financial resources. This year, one of my seniors applied to Rutgers Engineering, Lehigh, and then also Seton Hall. And he got into the Rutgers Engineering program, he got into Lehigh, he also got into Seton Hall. Seton Hall gave him $25,000 a year to attend. So he's basically now depending on whether or not he wants to go to Seton Hall Rutgers, because technically the cost is the same, except now he might be able to go to an institution that's a little smaller, student to teacher ratio is smaller, he might like the professors there a little bit better, maybe the reputation of the school, he likes the atmosphere. So now he's actually keeping his options open. So, don't always, just wait from applying to a college that's private because of what the cost looks like. Also, every college on their website has what's called a net price calculator, and that will provide you with an estimate of what it might cost for your child to enroll. So go on the website and look to see, once you enter in all the little boxes, what it would really look like as an estimate to possibly apply to that school. So definitely consider that. And also consider applying for scholarships. Here in the school, we do have senior award night. Look at what the school will offer you in order to attend that university. Also do like FastWeb and Cinch, which are also financial aid resources available for scholarship information. Of course, that's also an application in itself, so sometimes students could get very busy because they're doing their college applications and also looking at financial aid. But there are resources out there, and you just want to keep your options open. Again, financial aid, scholarship, and resources. Every student, once they apply to college, will have to fill out a FAFSA. It's required. Some schools, when you're applying in the beginning of the year, will ask you to start filling out the FAFSA right away, because that's when they start to distribute their merit and scholarship money. Of course, many of us will have not applied for our taxes yet because the year had not ended. They will take your estimated tax information, and then they will give you an EFC, a family contribution amount that you would maybe be required to pay. So sometimes it is helpful to start filling out that paperwork as soon as possible. Remember, some schools will not give you scholarship, or you will not qualify for scholarship if you waive your right for financial aid. So you want to always keep your options open. Private schools will require the CSS profile. It is an application that you have to fill out through College Board. When you're looking at your websites and you're looking at which schools you want to apply to, go onto the main admission requirements and see. Many of them will tell you whether or not the CSS profile is required. And then it goes Sally Mae, FastWeb, right? Create a portfolio of information. Based on the way you answer your questions, they will then provide you with scholarships that you might want to consider applying to. Also, cinch.com is another one that's also helpful. And although the information is here, we encourage our students to come and see us, and we'll talk to them about what resources are available.
And the financial aid offices generally have their own website. So just like you can look at the admissions website, you can look at the financial aid office as well. Okay, so when you get to the application process, what exactly are colleges looking for? The most important thing at any school is going to be your transcript. They're going to look at your grades over the course of your 4 years. Depending on the school, some will look a little more in-depth than others, but they're all going to look at your overall GPA. On our transcripts, you have 2 GPAs. You have your core GPA and your all-course GPA. Schools are going to look at all of that. They're going to look at the courses that you've taken over the course of your 4 years. Have you taken the most difficult classes for you? Have you challenged yourself? That's the sort of thing they're looking for with the transcript. Let's see, what else with the transcript? I feel like I'm missing something.
Rigor, grades, solid grades, consistency, right? Sometimes we'll have a student who keeps taking honors, and although they're not being successful. And so sometimes the school's going to also want to look at whether or not is the student making good choices about their courses, or is the student going to go to my college or my university and be successful because they made good choices about what they're taking. Interest. Business majors might want to take a business course. Bio majors might want to do bio, and maybe physiology or something else that might interest them. So it's really, have you shown some interest in your transcript?
Test scores. So SAT, ACT, like we were talking about earlier, SAT 2s, not all schools will require those, but some of them do. Most of you who are juniors are thinking about, if you haven't already taken some sort of test, doing some sort of preparation for it. There are also schools that are test optional. So if you feel like you did not do well on the test and you're worried about sending your scores in because they don't match up well with your GPA, well, then that's something you consider when you're looking at schools, because there are schools.
They're going to weigh your transcript more heavily, right? So if you're going to option out of a task, then you have to have an excellent transcript.
And some schools may also ask you to do something in place of those test scores.
Some schools will allow you to submit an English paper that was maybe graded by a teacher with a grade on it, and so sometimes that's helpful. Also remember that many of our seniors will apply or will have taken a SAT or ACT by October, or by November, because they want to do early decision or early action, so you want to make sure you get that in as soon as possible. You don't want to wait till the last minute.
And that kind of brings up, how many times do you take this test? I would say no more than 3 at the most, preferably 2. But if you feel like you need to do it a 3rd time, it's not going to hurt. Definitely don't go above and beyond that, because they're going to question, why are you taking it so many times? Essay or writing sample. So most of you, if not all of you, will probably use the Common Application, which, if you haven't heard about it yet, you will. There is an essay that is part of that application. So that's something you can start working on over the summer, and that's something that they look heavily on when you're doing applications. Some schools more than others. This all varies a little bit depending on the school, how much weight they put on each thing.
Many students will touch base with their English teacher and have them read it over once school begins. If you want to look at the Common App essay questions from this past year, you can just Google Common App essay questions. They are available.
They probably won't change
They
either.
won't change. In the past, you were able to choose the topic of your choice. Now you have to answer one of the 5 questions.
So, and they're usually pretty,
General.
pretty general. So, I don't think they're going to change this year. So if you look at them now, you're probably in good shape. Yes.
Well, between the SAT and ACT, what do you think schools want? One or the other, one better than the other?
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Years ago,
It used to be that the Midwest focused on the ACT, the East and West Coasts were SAT schools,
No,
but it's not like that anymore.
Take what makes you feel most comfortable, what you're going to do well in. Many of our students take the ACT very, very well, so it's really up to the student as to how what they do.
And they're very different tests. So SAT is more critical thinking, problem solving based, while ACT is much more curriculum based, so based more on the actual content of what they're learning in school.
Some schools don't think that they are anything about the more.
No, they
not
don't even
anymore.
mention that anymore.
No, they'll take either. Some kids choose to take both and see which one they do better on, and decide to send whichever one they think they did better on. Some may send both.
We've never had an issue with a school ask us for a particular test score.
Is there somewhere where they tell you the guidelines of what the essay for Common App is supposed to be? Because it's linked and it's,
Well, there's what is it, 650 words?
650 words.
Yeah, it won't let you put in more than,